News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. All is set for NDC 2024 ticket with a running mate who says she's on a mission to help the flag bearer rescue Ghana from corruption, nepotism and poor governance. We ask, did her message sink in? Also on this program, government says it has initiated steps to procure adequate fuel to power all available plants in the country to improve power supply. And much later on this program, Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited SML refutes claims it has received $100 million as compensation for its contract with the Ghana Revenue Authority. Thank you very much for joining us. The NDC ticket for election 2024 is set with a running mate who says she is on a mission to help rescue Ghana from corruption, nepotism and poor governance. Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman will, for the second time, be partnering John Mahama, but her first major outing has got many talking. Listen to excerpt from her address last night.
I will share collective successes and share responsibility for our setbacks, if any. And at the time of reckoning, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I will not, in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate. Opportunity to heal our country again. It is about the opportunity to pull Ghana back from the precipice of destruction, of normalizing corruption, of incomprehensive greed, from deep Some of us have been around for a while and have experienced the to and fro of politics in Ghana, but never have we experienced levels of greed, unbridled arrogance, unrestrained impunity, sheer dishonesty, barefaced hypocrisy, incompassion, as displayed by this incumbent government over the past 6 years and more.
You heard that Jane Opoku, she is vice presidential candidate for John Mahama, partnering him for the 2024 general election. Those were excerpts of what she said yesterday. Let's speak to political and communications marketing analyst Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin, who joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
Doc, I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Doc, we are seeing Nana Jane Opoku, who is growing into political communication as compared to what we saw in 2020. She seemed not to have held back in her delivery yesterday. Did you find that as well?
All right, Beatrice, good afternoon to you listeners. I think that the professor, had come a long way in terms of her political journey and commitment. I saw in her yesterday, a true Ghanaian, judging from, her appearance, judging from the way she was, communicating with regards to her level of patriotism. And I also saw some level of nationality, in her speech. I also realized that, politically she is growing, and that I can only commend her, for coming that far in terms of, how she was able to, combine national rhetorics, political rhetorics and, political issues, to address the main, the ruling government, UC and all other political parties. I think that she delivered an insightful speech, and I feel also that she's been able to combine her past, that is academic achievements, in relation to new endeavors, that is the political, space that she finds herself in.
You're commending her for her growth. You've just gone a bit into the message she delivered yesterday and say that it was insightful. How so? Because one of the things she said was taking responsibility for what happens and committing to fixing the current challenges. Obviously, given a subtle job at the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
Yeah, so if she took responsibilities of certain things in the past and, committing, her life into politics, I think that it is one of the key things that she needed to communicate and communicate very well, which she did. Again, she spoke about, her readiness to fight corruption and also do the needful with regards to correcting certain wrong, with regards to people's attitudes, mentality, and all that. These are strong statements which I believe that if she is committed to it, then she will receive the support, of the party, the support of the president, the support of the flag bearer, and all meaning Ghanaians in that direction. Then, of course, I think that she will be able to do something great for this nation. But you see, the issue still remains as to whether a vice president, you can, as it were, implement policies and probably deliver on your promise as it is. That is where probably a challenge would come from. And again, that is where she would need, the support of the flag bearer in case they are, elected into government. Then, of course, the flag bearer should be able to give her all the support she needs, to fight corruption. With regards to the caution, that was also given to VC, I think that it takes boldness to be able to make such statements. And I feel that what she said was also, a good thing that she did. And I feel that if she, as a woman who cares, for the good people of Ghana, would come into office one day and begins to put the EC right, as she said, then I think that would be okay for us. Because, you see, the EC is one institution that needs to, to stay apolitical and probably deliver, its national commitment. She also made another profound statement about not going to be a self-serving, ambitious, person in government, and that she is declaring to the whole world, about the fact that she is going to be selfless and going to be committed to the cause of the Ghanaian people. I think that it is a very strong statement, and it is a statement that also, will serve the good people of Ghana very well, to the extent that looking at the perception around politicians and the fact that every Ghanaian or most Ghanaians on the street feel or have some kind of negative perception about, politicians. If she is going to go out there and probably work towards national interest and not her and her family's interest, or not going to work towards, party interest, but will work towards national interest, then I feel that it will be good.
She seemed to be she seemed to be highlighting the fact of dealing with corruption. People say that we've seen the administration of John Mahama before. Do you really think that they will come through with that word? And then I'm asking you two questions in one: the bit about Nana Opoku being adored, and the argument that perhaps the ground is matured for the MPP to also outdoor its vice presidential candidate. Briefly.
Yes, I think that with the issue of the corruption, I said something earlier about it. Now, with regards to her outdooring, I think that it was required, because if you can't just use a name, to establish the identity of one person. So the Professor Jenana that was given to Ghanaians in 2020, is she the same Professor Jenana that is coming in 2024? People may bear semblance in terms of names. So if she's adored, then of course on that platform everyone will know that it's the same person. It is not just about the name identity.
Doc, just briefly about, yes, I'm sorry, we're running out of time. Just briefly about the argument that it is time for the MPP to also outdoor its vice presidential candidate.
Yes, I think that, yes, but for me, it is not an issue of the fact that, the NDC has elected a vice presidential candidate, and so the MPP should do same. For me, it all depends on the party, it depends on the flag bearer of the MPP, his timing and all that he's thinking in terms of what he is looking for in a running mate and all that. So if he is able to identify somebody and he wants to be cocksure about it, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and let's wait for his time.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much. And that was Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin. He's political and communications marketing strategist. Thank you for speaking to us. Now, the government says it has initiated steps to procure adequate fuel to power all available plants in the country to improve power supply. Electricity supply in the last few months has been an issue of concern, with analysts pointing to the inability of the government to procure fuel to power generating plant. President Ogbodu and board chairman of the ECG, Herbert Krapper, have been speaking on this matter.
His Excellency the President has personally led arrangements, financial and operational, to ensure that the current power outages that Ghanaians are feeling in the country in a few days will be a thing of the past. His Excellency the President has led all of us in the power sector to ensure that we're putting arrangements in place, procure additional fuel, run all our thermal plants and power producing plants at full capacity. And His Excellency the President has also led realignment of operational and technical arrangements in the entire power sector value chain, which is the reason I'm able to assure the people of Ghana that in the next few days, the power challenges that we are seeing, under the leadership of His Excellency the President, it will be a thing of the past.
You heard the board chairman of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Herbert Krapper, energy analyst and executive director of Eureka Energy Solutions. Dr. Yusuf Suleimana joins us live via video call. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, Beatrice, if I get the name right.
Yes.
And thank you for having me. Yeah.
Another assurance from the government on steps to secure enough fuel for the power plant. Does this give you confidence that finally something is being done to address what people call dumso?
Yeah, so that's a very refreshing statement to come from the topmost leadership of the political party of the day, and not any mean person, by the first gentleman of the land, as we are told. And so, however, I still think that I personally would like to still receive the news with cautious optimism because of what the president, what has happened. We've heard so many highly optimistic statements coming from ECG boss, coming from most of the actors, the big actors within the power sector, but we've seen that it's fizzled into thin air. However, I don't want to take this one lightly. I would wish to believe that something is on the table, or they've gotten their hand on something concrete. That is why the first gentleman with land will have to make that statement. So yes, whilst I'll welcome it with cautious optimism, I just pray and wish that it materializes, and that whatever that they are talking about, they feel that they're able to, accumulate it. And think about long-term measures, medium to long-term measures, instead of this kind of firefighting mode that I'll always call it, Beatrice.
Normally, or within this period that we've had this erratic power supply, one of the main arguments has been that the government has not had enough money to buy fuel. That's probably one aspect of it. Really, what can be done moving forward beyond buying enough fuel to ensure that we have stable power supply?
Yeah, so that's a great one, and that's a key point. That's the first point. Our revenue generation, revenue mobilization drive, we have to get it right. If you don't get it right, like I always mention, if you look at these three value chains or value sectors within the power, within the energy, within the power stream, the generation, distribution, and transmission. When we have an inherent inefficiency within one chain, the cascading impact will be dire on the others. So like I always mention, though we have this as a generation problem, a generation short deficit, tracing it, or if you do what I will always call 5 whys, why this, why this, why this, eventually you land on finance. And where is the money coming from? It can only come from ECG. So yes, ECG, they have to be phenomenally efficient. If you're a player and you can account for like 20 to 30% of power being given to you, then it's a problem. And so yes, starting point would be the ECG. ECG, they have to be phenomenally efficient. We have recommended severally what they can do. They've started doing some of them, which I've always commended them for starting that. Going cashless is one, which is excellent. Number one. Number two is the metering system. The metering system is a serious financial sink so far as ECG is concerned. They have to get that right. We don't have any business in this moment in time to have postpaid meters and the 2006 type of meters, Kufuor era types of prepaid meter. They are still in the system. Those kind of meters will not help cashless system to function well. Those kind of the areas where we have to do the investment to make sure that we have the smart meters. So that revenue generation will have to be robust. And other than that, we'll keep on pouring water into a leaking basket, and it will come back to hit us hard. So that's what we can do. Long-term, Beatrice, I've always said that we have to go beyond this kind of saying we have to procure fuel and our power plant. What can we do to have this sustainable met? I've called for the fact that Ghana, we are fortunate to have to be an oil producer. In many jurisdictions, oil producers, especially oil producers whose reservoirs are, is saturated with gas, they have no business to have do so, especially if, most of their generators are feeding on natural gas. We have huge amount of gas. We have failed to capitalize on that. So I always call on the government to invest in our gas infrastructure, to make sure that we have enough gas pipeline and commercialize the gas from our reservoir, our fields, our oil fields. If we do that, I think we'll have energy sustainability. Other than that, if we don't do that and we keep depending on external sources, getting money to buy fuel, it's a good thing, but those things are not sustainable.
Dr. Suleimana,
so we are always on the... Yes.
Just very briefly before you go, just getting your thoughts on what the senior presidential advisor said to us just less than a week ago. You kept highlighting efficiency of the ECG, but when we spoke to him, he said that the energy minister, for instance, should be the one issuing a load shedding timetable. What's your brief thought on that?
That's factual. I support that, and I've made several calls that I always believe that I think in this situation of this load shedding, the ECG is always fronting. It's always taking a bullet. If the energy minister for today, Beatrice, tells ECG to come out with a load shedding, timetable or power management timetable, ECG has no business not to do that. So yes, the back actor stops with the energy ministry.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much. And that was Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. He's energy analyst and executive director of Eureka Energy Solutions. We stay in the power sector because calls for the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah to apologize to the Electricity Company of Ghana, Mark Wiafe, for causing his arrest has intensified among staff of the company. On Wednesday, the offices of the ECG were painted red as part of a series of protests to force the minister to accede to their demand and apologize. But Simon Osei-Mensah has rubbished the call, saying he will not apologize for doing his work.
Nobody can stop me and the Regional Security Council from performing our security responsibilities as enshrined under the Constitution. I ask the police to invite Engineer Mark Asumani Wiafe on security grounds because of the happenings in the electricity power sector in the region. And the fact that a task force can always come from outside to disconnect without the proper information. What is ironical is that they tell me they are not under me, and for that matter, I cannot tell them what to do, but they want to tell me how I have to execute my security responsibilities as enshrined in the Security and Intelligence Agencies Act of 2020, Act 1030. They want to tell me. But they say I cannot tell them what to do. And I want to also tell them what they stated in their publication, I think on the 18th of April 2024, that their managers are members of the Regional Security Council, is palpable false. They are not members of the Regional Security Council.
You heard the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah. Now, Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited has clarified that the audit assurance report by KPMG confirmed that it has not received a payment of $100 million from the government. The company stated that the KPMG report exonerated their position following the expose by the Fourth Estate. President Akufo-Addo on Wednesday released excerpt of the report and directed that aspect of the SML revenue assurance contract with the Ghana Revenue Authority be abrogated. In a press statement issued on Thursday, April 25, that's today, SMS reaffirmed its commitment to contributing to Ghana's development by adhering to ethically acceptable standards and maintaining the quality of its work. Duke Menso-Poku has a copy of that. He joins me in the studio. Duke, give us the details.
Need for SML's services confirmed, but in the statement itself, the SML indicates that on January 2nd, 2024, the presidency appointed KPMG to conduct an immediate audit into the full risk-reward partnership agreement between the GRA and SML. The original agreement targeted revenue leakages in the downstream petroleum sector. However, due to the success of the original rollout, the performance-driven agreement was later expanded to include upstream petroleum and minerals sector. After much consideration, SML would like to put out the following on record. One, that the KPMG report debunks the false claim of $100 million paid to SML and refused a 10-year contract claim made by the journalist who did the work and the Fourth Estate. However, SML likes to point out that per KPMG's findings, which suggests that the fee estimated to be paid under the 5-year consolidated contract average about $1 billion per year is false. So that's the first claim that they dispute, the billion per year. Two, KPMG confirmed the importance of the upstream and minerals agreement. SML further observes that a comprehensive and needs assessment in those sectors were previously conducted, which supports KPMG findings. So in part, they are disputing most of the facts that were put out by the KPMG report. But then they conclude that, one, despite the misleading information propagated by Manasseh Azuri and the Fourth Estate, it is important to note that the independent report from KPMG, while containing some disputed and inaccurate statements, unequivocally confirms that A, there's no 10-year contract, B, $100 million was not paid to SML, C, there's no duplication of work with respect to the National Petroleum Authority, D, the GRA awarded the consolidated contract following due process, and E, SML has a risk-reward performance-based contract which SML fully finances without a PESWA from the PESWA of government's money. But
the KPMG in that report said that the first engagement, it didn't have PPA approval.
Yes, and then it was also not in line with the Public Financial Management Act, which says that multi-year contracts are supposed to be ratified by Parliament.
Exactly, and secondly, it also said that SML partially delivered on some of the services. It didn't address that in the statement?
that was not addressed.
All right. Thank you very much, Duke Mesopoku, for bringing us details of that latest statement coming from SML responding to that audit report from the KPMG. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. When we come back, we'll tell you what some miners in Bogoso are doing. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the first Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show in Ghana. Organized by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, this 10-day festival will be a celebration of functional arts and crafts, home decorations, jewelry and textiles, with export forums on the sidelines. Date, 26th April to 5th May 2024. Venue, Papaye Recreational Center, Eburi. Time, 10 a.m. each day. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of creativity and culture, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of Eburi.
To register as an exhibitor, kindly visit gepafairs.org or call +233 24 470 6112 or +233 20 955 6525. Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show. See you there.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba, a freezer. Adama, a crop was a mensia. Adama, make some my sorry. Can you know, over Moasia? I do for the Nobium Unum and San last night. I tell what we did was here. Adama for the craft from what we say. Yet the Adruba Cope, a ship will be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what's ya, no fugum. What the bus here, for your being no was your view, a good self, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, won't up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among Ammoniaji. Omtina me, Miwasika, Omtina me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or the Bibia a tongue cry on you. I say, Kayona Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
Yes, so here on the Midday News on 3FM, thank you for staying. More than 300 mine workers from the Bogoso mine have besieged the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to picket. The workers are demanding that the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources terminate the mining lease of Future Global Resources, which are the managers of the Bogoso mine. They also argue that Future Global Mine does not have the wherewithal to manage the mines for 3 years now, and all of them have been laid off. General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union of Chisu, Abdul Mumin Bana, was addressing a news conference in Accra.
Bearers, as far as we are concerned, are sleeping on the job. We are saying that the mining lease ought to be terminated. For 3 years now, Future Global has not invested anything into the Bogoso Prestia mine, because mining is big business, and for that matter, we need serious investors to invest in the mine. And so the duty bearers, particularly the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, must recognize that Future Global Resources do not have the capacity. Yes. And to the extent that they do not have the financial capacity, they cannot continue to hold us ransom.
You heard that some miners. Daniel Opoku is our labor correspondent who joins us live on the line. Daniel, tell us more as regards what you know.
Right, so this is the first time the labor union is raising this concern. Consistently, they have been talking about the need for government through the Ministry of Natural Resources to terminate the appointment of Future Global Resources. So this morning, what they did basically is to demand that the contract is terminated. And which is, as I speak to you, the ministry has been able to meet the leadership of the unions, and they have received a petition from the union. And so going forward, they are going to work on that. Let's not forget that already the Attorney General has given his full endorsement that the ministry can go ahead and terminate the contract of Future Global Resources at Bogoso Mine. So that's where we are currently, that they must proceed to be able to terminate their points on. What also speaks to the leadership of the unions, what they are saying is that they have been able to engage other partners who can come in and do their own investments. And if government is ready really to engage those partners, they, the labor groupings, are ready to partner with government to ensure that there's a new buyer into the system. As I speak to you, a lot of the workers have been asked to go home because the mine has been shut for the past 3 years. The government is able to mobilize a new buyer, a new company to come in, and obviously the mine will be resuscitated and the workers can go back to work.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Daniel Opoku, for bringing us those details. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Coming up shortly is News Daily with Michael Ogbodu.
Coming from all over the country and
Craig gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors criticizes government's plan to designate BEST, that is the Bulk Energy Storage Transport Company Limited, as sole off-taker in oil program. Also, KPMG audit reveals $177.5 million SML investment in GRA contracts. Plus, Imani Center for Policy and Education blames a lack of government policies for hindering the growth of local climate-smart businesses.
Right from the policy conceptualization, we don't have these green businesses in thinking. So we don't create spaces in the policies to support them.
I'm Michael Ogbodu. I bring you details of our top stories and more shortly. Please stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us. Straight into our top story now. The Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, CBOD, has raised concerns over plans by the government to make the Bulk Energy Storage and Transportation Company Limited, BEST, formerly known as BOST, the sole off-taker of Central Oil Refinery Limited's production under the Gold for Oil program. According to the Chamber, the move is inconsistent with the deregulation policy that guides the activities of the downstream petroleum sector. CBOD, in a statement, is therefore calling on the Vice President, who doubles as the chairman of the Economic Management Committee of the country, to review the policy immediately. Joining us via phone is energy analyst Benjamin Insia. Thank you so much for your time. First off, what do you make of this issue?
I think that it goes against the deregulation policy and gives BEST a better competitive advantage against other importers of petroleum products into the country, which is eventually going to collapse most of them and also affect government revenue.
But is the government justified in its bid to, for instance, at least stabilize the currency as it will be dealing with Central Refinery in the local currency, the cedi?
Currency stability is not one-sided. There are many varying factors that affect currency stability, especially when your exports increases over time. It brings some stability to the currency. So for government to say that allocating products from Central is the sole means by which, or sure means by which, the currency will be stable is not entirely true. What I think that this particular action will affect the whole petroleum downstream, collapsing most of the BDCs, because today, if this directive comes into force, BEST is going to get cheaper products from Central. BEST is not going to pay some insurance and freight costs, and for that matter, selling to OMCs will be a bit cheaper compared to other importers of petroleum products. And I think I support the CBOD entirely that governments must really look at this particular direction or directive. Otherwise, it is going to have a serious repercussion on the petroleum downstream.
Clearly, this will be creating multiple layers in the distribution channel because the members of CBOD, for instance, should be able to buy directly from Central, which will be a more competitive decision. What do you think?
Yes, I support that in the sense that we operate a very liberalized market, especially with respect to petroleum downstream sector, where we have oil traders trading these products on our market, and BDCs are allowed to purchase from each of these oil traders. Now, Central comes in as a refiner and also as a trader. So I think that government should allow BDCs with the resources to be able to purchase products directly from Central. If that doesn't happen and government allocates full output to BEST, as I said earlier, most of these BDCs also pay annual renewal license fees, which even BEST doesn't pay that. They pay almost $350,000 to government through annual renewal license fees. So if you are limiting them in terms of accessing products from Central by giving all allocation to BEST, what it means is that their products will be very, very expensive compared to what BEST sells, and that will kick them out of the market, which we all know, looking at the state of BEST now, will not be able to realize the revenue we need for sustaining the petroleum downstream.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Benjamin Nsia. We'll leave it here. Benjamin Nsia is an energy policy analyst and the director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Away from that, an audit conducted by KPMG into the revenue assurance contract between SML and the Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) has unveiled significant investment by SML in various service contracts. The audit found that SML's investment in contracts for transaction audit, external price verification services, and downstream petroleum audit services totaled $44 million. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
The Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) has invested a total of $177,530,902 in contracts for various services provided by SML. This includes $44,044,180 for transaction audit, external price verification, and downstream petroleum audit services, and $133,486,722 for upstream petroleum audit and minerals audit services. An audit by KPMG raised concerns about the lack of supporting documentation to verify the declared investment by SML. The audit firm recommended that GRA verifies the investment before terminating any of the services under the contracts. The audit also highlighted that the government has the right to terminate the contract with SML, either with or without cause. However, there are financial implications for termination. The government may be required to compensate SML for completed but unpaid services, and in the case of termination without cause, the government may also be liable to pay SML a return on investment equivalent to the fair value of SML's investment in the contract.
Now, that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Imani Center for Policy and Education has attributed the lack of policy support for local climate-smart enterprises as the main barriers inhibiting their growth. Notwithstanding the high recognition of the relevance of these enterprises, the business environment remains less supportive of the sector to scale up their innovations. This report has the details.
Despite the crucial role climate-smart enterprises play in the fight against the devastating impacts of climate change, there is scarcity of evidence and awareness of the critical factors to creating an enabling environment for green businesses to significantly shape the overall climate action of Ghana.
Most of the policies that we have in Ghana are not aligned to the needs of this green business because right from the policy conceptualization, we don't have these green businesses in thinking. So we don't create spaces in the policies to support them. Another challenge is the financing issue. Most of them have the technologies, but they are always largely remain very small because they are not supportive financing products locally. Again, most of them too are not able to also explore other innovative financing solutions. So that also inhibits them from scaling up most of their technology.
Partnerships, entrepreneurship, and investment director at Climate Innovation Center Ghana, Dr. Dramani Bukari, underscored the crucial role of green businesses in the climate change fight.
From whatever angle that you look at it, sustainable businesses are critical to resolving some of the challenges that are imposed upon us, or some of the burdens imposed upon us by climate change, either from the mitigation, adaptation, or co-benefits perspective.
Chief Executive of Farmio Limited called for collaboration between ministries and departments in elevating green businesses.
There are policies that support climate-smart businesses in Ghana today, but at the end of the day, implementation is always an issue for businesses like us to benefit from those policies. Policies that allow us to have tax-frees on certain raw material imports, policies that allow us to get financing from certain resources are all limited simply because of there's a disconnect between the policymaker and the implementation bodies.
That report was by Bismarck Ewusa. Now, before we leave you, calls intensify within the real estate sector for the establishment of a dedicated housing fund to combat the country's affordable housing challenge. With a staggering deficit of over 2 million housing units, access to moderately priced homes remain a pressing concern. Speaking exclusively to 3 Business, Executive Chairman of JL Properties, Dr. James Kundria Orleans Lindsay highlights the potential of such a fund in facilitating the construction of more affordable housing units across the country.
Funding is a difficulty. Access to problem-free land is a difficulty. Everything is important, from roofing sheet to the tiles that we import. Yes, now there are some tiles that have been manufactured here, but then it's still expensive. So we need to look at a lot of things. Otherwise, we'll end up with the deficit in housing still increasing and increasing and increasing. So there's a real issue. And, having access to good accommodation is part of the UN goals that a country needs to achieve. So that's the problem we have. We need to address it. Well, what can be done? Can we create a real estate fund to support genuine and real developers, not the ones who would take the fund and go and do high-end? How many people are going to buy high-end? Look at it. The need really is in the middle section. I pray that a day will come that a young grad who leaves school after 3, 4, 5 years could be able to afford a decent accommodation, a 1-bedroom or bed-sitter, and then you scale up.
So that was Executive Chairman of JL Properties, Dr. James Kundria Orleans Lindsay, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Ogbodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.